All right. Hey, everyone. Mark here, Mark P Markets. Thank you for joining me for another Bitcoin and Ethereum analysis session. If you're new, welcome. Let me explain to you how this works, and then we'll get this thing going. All right. So first, I'm going to go over the economic calendar, as I usually do, because you want to be aware of certain things that are coming out during the week to help mitigate risk. Second, I'm going to briefly go over some analysis just to kind of update what I wrote yesterday, because we've had some changes here. And then we're going to jump right into the trades, okay? Because what I like to do during these sessions is I like to use the Trade Scanner Pro to try and find trade ideas or trade setups in Bitcoin or Ethereum. We'll see what the markets show us today, okay? So with all that, let's get started. Let me pull up my slide here. Just give me a moment. This is for educational purposes only. For investment advice, please consult a licensed investment advisor. All right. So I appreciate you guys coming today. We got my regulars. Savi, good to see you. We got Stop Fooling Around. I like that name. Stop fooling around. Stop fooling around. All right, Alex, good to see you. All right, Alex from Romania. Got all my people here. So yeah, I'm experimenting with the titles. I have a lot of work to do with the stream, by the way, and so I'm aware of what I'm doing wrong with my streaming and all that other stuff. But again, you have to understand, I spend a lot of time dealing with the markets. I'm an actual trader. I don't, I'm not like these clowns who make videos all day. I don't have time to do that. So I'm still working on my, on my presentation and all that other stuff. But trust me, thank you for all the feedback that I've gotten. I'm definitely, I know what's wrong and I know how to improve. It's just going to take some time. So I appreciate your patience with that whole process. But anyway, I still want to deliver value, and this is how I'm going to do it. All right. Hey, Monica, good to see you. Okay, so first things first, let's go over that economic calendar. Oh, and by the way, check the links in the description. If you like the content, please subscribe. Please press the like button, all that other stuff. It always helps. And I put a new link in the description. Plus, I actually put a little bit of a description. But I put a new link, and that link is the Trade Scanner Pro tutorial video that's on my YouTube channel. Usually I just tell people, go to the channel and find it somewhere. But there's the actual link in the description. So if you want to just get a basic idea of how it works on your own at your own convenience, you can click on that link. All right, so let's jump right into the economic calendar, because I want to get into trades. Hey, guys, good to see you. All right, thanks for stopping by. By the way, if you want to share what city or what country you are from, that's always a fun fact. I'm streaming from the greater New York City area, northern New Jersey. Okay, I can actually see the city from the horizon over here. So it's, that's where I'm at, and that's why it explains why I say things a certain way sometimes. All right, anyway, so feel free to share that. Always fun to hear. Anyway, let's get into, Germany. Achtung. Guten Tag. That's all I could say. And I may know some bad words, but I'm not going to share those here. Budapest. Okay, cool. Hungary. All right. Nice. Cool. I know we got Romania in the room, and I don't know where else we got. Okay. All right. We got Brooklyn. We got Savi from Brooklyn, New York. Savi, by the way, we have that CMT thing this week. I believe it's Thursday. Correct me if I'm wrong. I believe that's on Thursday. We have a CMT association. Every month they have like a networking meeting, and they have like a thing in the city, and I've been going. So I invite people from New York. If you're from the New York area, send me an email, but most of the people here aren't from New York. Anyway, Savi, is that right? London, oh dear. Monica, I was wondering where my Londoners have been. Oh dear, I haven't had my Londoners don't come visit me anymore. My mates from Australia, they don't visit me anymore. Man, I don't know what's going on here. Must be inflation. People just run out of money. Anyway, all right. It is the 9th. Right. Okay, I thought so. Yeah, that's on Thursday. So I'll be there. CMT Association meeting. It's fun. I'll get to meet some nice people and stuff, and they're all, professional chartist type people. Anyway, so let's get into the economic calendar, shall we? We're wasting time, and I want to get into some trades before we run out of our trade window closes. So first thing on the calendar that you want to be aware of is tomorrow, Tuesday, we have the PMI, the services PMI, which is not a major number. I believe that number comes out at 10 a.m. Eastern time. You want to double check the number, the timestamp. It's either 10 a.m. or maybe 10:30 Eastern time. that number can have an effect intraday. So just be aware of it. It's not a major number, but be aware of it. All right. On Wednesday, we have the FOMC meeting minutes at 2 p.m. Eastern time. That can have an effect intraday if there are any surprises in that report. Also, we have the ADP employment report, which is sort of a preview of the non-farm payrolls. Now, again, if there are any surprises there, you may see a jitter or some sort of jump intraday. But other than that, it's not like a major market mover. Usually major market moving pieces of information have like a heavy effect on the US dollar, and then that affects everything else, right? So the FOMC meeting minutes possibly, but again, there has to be surprises there, right? So that's Wednesday. On Thursday, we don't have anything major economic reports. And then we go to Friday, which is non-farm payrolls at 8:30 a.m. Eastern time. It comes out, this is the first Friday usually of every month. And it's probably one of the most important reports next to the FOMC meeting. So want to pay attention to that. Make sure you're not taking heavy positions going into that, because there's no way to know how the market's going to react to whatever outcome comes out. So that's that. And then there's Michigan consumer sentiment also on Friday. And I believe that's a 10 o'clock number or a 10:30 a.m. number. Double check the timestamp again. That can have an effect for intraday traders. So I would say that the most important report this week really is the non-farm payrolls. Everything else is minor. I also saw other economic reports coming out from other countries, like the EU they had a CPI report, and I saw some other things, but those are not major market moving events. So it's really not something you have to worry about unless you're in particular Forex pairs. Then you might want to be more aware of those. All right, cool. So that's that. If you have any questions about that, let me know. Otherwise, let's move along. So I'm going to make my chart bigger here. All right, because you don't need to see my big head. And actually, is that the one that I want to use? I guess that's the one. Oh, I messed with the formatting there, so it's changed a bit. All right, I'm going to have to fix that. Anyway, I'm not going to fix that now. You can still see my big head. So what you see here is, I have two Bitcoin charts, but we're going to focus here on the daily chart first, real quick. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but I wrote my article on TradingView yesterday. And in that article, as you can see, I pointed out these two inside bars because the second inside bar was developing as I wrote the article. If you read the article, I described this, and that's what this line on my chart represents. That's the forecast. Basically, I said, if we break the high of the inside bar, 1025 is basically where we can go. Now, I don't know how quickly it get there. Man, it got there in a few hours. I wasn't expecting it to be that quick. Anyway, the point is this. We are now, this 1025 is a minor resistance. I drew all of this in advance. Go take a look at my TradingView article. And the thing is, the way this provides value to you, and the reason why you should read those articles, is because it gives you a sense of context. You should have known, okay, we break the high of the inside bar, I should be looking for longs. You should not be thinking short, because that kind of breakout, usually when you have a situation like this, where you go up to a point, right? And then it could possibly turn the other way here, but it doesn't. That's usually a sign of strength, and someone's going to get squeezed. And that's what happens here. This is a common pattern. So it's not like I have some kind of crystal ball and I know some kind of magical thing. All I knew was this is not a sign of weakness. And likely we're going to see a squeeze, right? So that's what probability favored. Now, when you have a confirmation tool like the Trade Scanner Pro, it can be very helpful when you're looking for buying confirmations inside of this candle, because you know the potential is 4,000 points coming off of, we were at what, 98, whatever. What's the high of the inside bar here? 98.8. And this thing ran to 1025. So that's a lot of potential. The Trade Scanner Pro, at least if you come to the market with an idea, in this case, the idea should have been looking for longs upon the breakout. The Trade Scanner Pro gives you confirmations, and it gives you the stop loss and profit objective for the time frame that you're working on. You have to come to the market with a time frame in mind and a trade idea in mind, right? To most effectively use the Trade Scanner Pro. If you come to the market with no idea and no time frame, and you're just going to grasp at random signals, you're going to get random results. It's not a forecasting tool. Now, I'm actually making another tutorial series. I'm actually working on that now, where once it's done, I'm probably going to release each video as they're done. And that's going to help people that go on the 14-day free trial use the Trade Scanner Pro in the most optimal way, so they don't have to guess as much. By the way, while I'm on the topic of the Trade Scanner Pro, I want to mention that Stian has been sharing with me some important updates because we've been working on this for a while. I give him ideas, he works out the ideas, he sends me an example, and I send him back notes, right? So we're working on this new update on the Trade Scanner Pro that's going to completely change the user interface, right? Right now, you still have to do a lot of work, but the new version, you're going to have to do a lot less work. It's going to be way more intuitive. In fact, we're working on like what I call the trend status line, and we're going to remove the boxes. Like I'll show you real quick. We're going to remove these boxes in the upper right-hand corner. Like we have boxes that appear up here. We're going to remove that, and we're going to actually have a trend status line that's going to relay all that information with simple color codes in a line. So you'll know this market's bullish, or this market's not bullish, or this market's bearish, or this market's not so bearish. And you'll be able to intuitively figure that out with no explanation. So we're working on that. And by the way, when that's published, all people who have the Trade Scanner Pro will automatically get that update. But I'm mentioning this because when we do publish that version, because it's going to be a big change, I'm raising my prices, just so you know. All right. So the price is probably going to almost double from where it is now. Not exactly double, but it's definitely going to be much higher than it is now. And so anyone that doesn't have the Trade Scanner Pro, you're going to have to pay the higher price. All right. And by the way, right now, if you're new and you're still trying to figure out whatever and you have no experience, don't even bother, because you're not going to be able to use it properly. I try to teach that in these streams, but no one watches these streams after the fact. So all the information is still there on my channel, but no one watches them. Anyway, so as far as this analysis goes, we're at 102.5, right? Basically. And this is a bad place now to look for longs, to continue to look for longs on the bigger picture, because you're at a minor resistance. Now, it's very possible that we get a continuation up to the 105s, right? Which is the previous high, maybe even touch the 108. That's possible. And right now, there's no counter signal here. There's no sell signal in place. So if you're long and you're like, well, I don't know what to do. Well, there's nothing to do but let it ride at this point until you get a sell signal. Remember, you're never going to get the top. You're never going to get the bottom. But you want to try to give the market a chance to pay you more. And at this moment, all we have is a location. We don't have a reason to do anything as far as swing trades go. That's what I wanted to mention as far as analysis. All right. So at this point, still very bullish. But here's the mistake I want you to avoid. Don't think that it's going to go way up here without any trouble. Don't think that. There's going to be a lot of people out there that are going to be, they're going to cheerlead. They're going to say this thing's going to $1 million by tomorrow. I'm sure all of you are used to that by now. Don't be fooled by that, because it might, but there's a lot of problems along the way. You have this resistance, you have the 105 resistance. Also, keep in mind, we completed 5 waves here. So this can very likely be a fake out wave, meaning this is like it sucks all the longs in before it goes into the corrective structure. We're not in the corrective structure yet because we have to break 90K before that confirms, and we refuse to do that also. So it's a tough spot for swing traders and investors, in my opinion. I would really not do too much. But as a day trader, there's always opportunities. All right. So that's what we're going to get into here. If you have any questions about that, let me know. Now, we're going to talk about Bitcoin and we're going to talk about Ethereum. So if you want to know how the Trade Scanner Pro works, I'm not going to explain that all here because I've done that a million times. You could watch the tutorial video from the link in the description, and I explain it all there. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to change this chart, okay, on the right-hand side. First, what we're going to do is we're going to go to Bitcoin Perp. Now, I'm changing over to the perpetual futures. and I'm going to change it to a 1 hour chart. I'm going to explain all this in a moment why I'm doing this, but most of my regulars know why I'm doing this. And on this side, I have the Bitcoin perp. You could see there's a signal in play, but that's on a 5-minute chart. I want to switch to a 1-minute chart for purposes of this example, because what I like to do in these streams is I like to demonstrate how the TradeScanner Pro works in real time. So I usually have to resort to smaller time frames to do that, to demonstrate that. Now, Alex, if you have time, can you talk about investing and demo it on the NEO stock chart? Okay. All right. Well, I can do that real quick. NEO. Oh, by the way, speaking of that, you remind me of something. I've talked about this before. Right now, for this account, for these demonstrations, I'm using a paper trade account, but I'm planning to do this with real money. But the thing is, I'm still in my research phase as far as looking for a decentralized exchange and one that is cost effective and practical for most people. I've been through a few exchanges, and let me tell you, man, they stink. There's just they're cost prohibitive when it comes to day trades. They're just not practical. All right. Also, you know, what wallet to use, because all of these exchanges, the decentralized, they're not compatible with all wallets. So I pretty much have that ironed out, where to move your money and how to do this and how to do that. But let me tell you, compared to actual futures, working with real futures or working with Forex, it's a lot more complex, and it's very easy to make mistakes like overlooking a wallet address, right? You put the wrong wallet address in or the wrong network, and your money just evaporates. You just throw it away. So it requires a very strict attention to detail. And we'll go over that stuff when I switch over and start using a decentralized exchange. But I do have one in mind that looks promising. So once I have that together, then we'll be able to take these trades, and I'll be able to do it with real money. The goal is to take $1,000 account and grow it into a $2,000 account on these streams. Like, I'm not going to do it off stream. I'm going to do it within a stream, in a live stream, so people can see it in real time, right? Because I can't fake that. There are so many frauds out there that fake so many things that it's unbelievable that people still believe this nonsense that they see on YouTube. It's unbelievable. But hey, we need fake traders. We need frauds. Someone has to lie out there and attract the dumb money. I can't do it. I have to follow a code of ethics. But even if I could, I wouldn't. All right. Anyway, so we're going to do that. I just want to make sure that if I'm going to do that, that I have a practical solution for people, everyone, whether you're in the U.S. or not in the U.S., I want a practical solution. And the centralized exchanges do not offer that. They limit all U.S. users. So I'm not interested. I've tried, and I'm not interested in the centralized exchanges. All right. So Mexi, stop with your emails, because I'm not going to answer them. All right. Anyway, so let's talk about. All right. So let me do NEO real quick. I'll do NEO for Alex. All right. So you want to see the NEO stock. All right. And you want to see about investing and demonstrate it on the NEO stock. All right. So let's go. We're talking about investing. So we're talking about a daily time frame. Let me just do this real quick. All right. I normally don't do this anymore, but Alex has been a long time follower. He helps me with my Discord community. So sure, why not? Let's do it. Happy New Year, by the way, everyone. I forgot. It's the first stream of the new year. Happy New Year. Hope you all had a nice celebration and everything else. So NEO, this is the car manufacturer, right? I would imagine. So this is a nice pullback. Let's go to the weekly chart. So here, I'm going to take the trade scanner. Look, the trade scanner on the weekly is actually calling a short. But let's remove that now so we don't get confused, okay? And because when it comes to investing, I mean, first of all, we want to kind of get a sense of the bigger picture. Man, this thing has given back a lot, all right? Interesting. So that's the weekly chart on NEO. And yes, okay, I could see what you're looking at here. Do you have a nice support at this level right here? Looks like it's double bottomed in this area right here. Now, here's what I'll tell you about this very quickly. Current prices, I'm trying to draw a line there. There we go. $3.65. All right, that's your bottom right now. So if you're accumulating some small bites here, nothing wrong with that. Now, keep in mind, this structure is generally bearish, right? It hasn't changed yet. So what I would do in this situation is if you want to do some small accumulation, okay, just to have some. But keep in mind, this low is still vulnerable based on what I'm seeing here, just based on the lower highs. Yes, we have a double bottom and we have a higher high. That's cool. And possibly a higher low. But this thing is still iffy, right? It hasn't really proven itself yet. So you want to see that resistance get cleared before you become more optimistic. What resistance is that? That's basically $6. Let me make that bigger. Okay, so that you want to see that resistance get cleared, and that would be a sign that this thing is changing structure, right? That would be more of a confirmation in this case. That's what you want to see. You want to see these resistances get cleared, and then you want to see a higher low come after that. So if you want to start accumulating now, Alex, this is definitely a good call. Of course, we all know NIO is the electric car manufacturer from China. I would imagine it's the same one, right? So yeah, that's how I would treat this right now. You would think this thing would be doing better. But yeah, so it doesn't mean that it won't change. And don't get all caught up with the fundamentals, because the fundamentals, by the time the fundamentals catch up with this thing is usually much more technically sound, because technicals they encompass all the known information in the world, whether that's inside information or non-inside information. Price knows everything, right? That's part of efficient markets. So yeah, so that's how I would treat something like this. So not a bad place to be buying or investing small increments, but the trend hasn't changed yet. So when the trend changes and you start breaking these resistances, that would call for putting on more. That would definitely justify putting on, accumulating more for the position. Does that make sense? So right now, small bites, you break that resistance, that's more of a bullish situation. You can start to add there, and on pullbacks, look to add at that point. Look at support levels from there, and those would be your places to add. Or at least if you're going to buy once a month or whatever, like if you have a scheduled buy, try to buy nearer that low if you can. If it's at a high, just step aside and wait for a low. And like for example, let's say you buy on the 15th of every month. Let's say that's your investing day for this stock, and it happens to be at a swing high. Don't buy that day. Wait until you get the next swing low. And if the swing low happens to be the next week or whatever, then that's when you make your purchase, right? So if you're kind of biased buying those lower prices, you're averaging in at better prices. Make sense? Hey, Peter. Okay, cool. Cool. All right, no problem. All right, so that's NIO. Thanks for asking. Good. Alex is very good with picking out these longer term assets and recognizing investment opportunities. But just keep in mind, you may have a situation like this over here where it tries, right? It tries, and then look, it fails. So that's why you want to make sure if you're accumulating at lower prices rather than higher prices until you get these solid breakouts. Like let's say you bought this breakout and you put on a little bit more, right? But you don't want to go all in because you may be exposed to this. Also, when you dollar cost average in, you also want to make sure that you have levels to dollar cost average out. You want to make sure you lock in some of that, right? I know Alex knows this stuff. I don't have to explain that to him. But he's very good at picking these things for altcoins as well. He's made some really cool picks because he pays attention to these bigger picture situations. All right. Anyway, Alex, thank you for bringing that up. So let's get into Bitcoin, right? Shall we? Let's see what's going on. How much time? All right. So we still have some time here. I look at the time because your trade window is very important for when you're looking at day trades. You have to pay very close attention to your trade window. All right, we're going into 1 hour. So what I mean by trade window is, for example, is it the stock market open 9:30, right, a.m. Eastern time? That's an important trade window. Between 9:30 and basically noon, that's like the opening trade window. From noon till about 2 o'clock, 2:30, that's usually a bad time to be doing things because volume shrinks. And then from 2:30 to 4 o'clock, the close, that's usually your secondary trade window. And that's particular to day trade stocks or futures, but Bitcoin is also affected by that. So you want to be aware of that. Now, Bitcoin takes it a step further, or coins, the coins take it a step further, because there's going to be other times of the day where volume comes back for them, where it does not come back for the stock market. Like, for example, the Asian session, right? I've seen action during the Asian session. Also, like on a Saturday afternoon at like 2 p.m., there's action. I've seen that many times. So the coins have like their own schedule. And it's important to be aware of that go beyond the stock market. But the stock market is a good point of reference. Anyway, what I want to do now, you can see the two charts here, is I know that I'm going into this looking for day trades. Now, we're going to start with Bitcoin. If Bitcoin stinks, I'll go take a look at Ethereum, but we'll start with Bitcoin. Actually, I want to show you something. Since part of the title here is Ethereum, I should probably show Ethereum real quick, right? So I'm going to show Ethereum. We're going to show the perp chart of Ethereum. It's the same thing. Now, one thing I want to point out about Ethereum, the Ethereum futures, is they're very similar to Bitcoin, okay? So, oh, I forgot to select it on the chart. Hold on. Perp. Okay, MEXC. I just like to use MEXC. So it's going to be very similar. Not exact, but it's similar. So if Bitcoin has a big move higher, most likely Ethereum is going to have a big move higher. You notice I'm looking at the hourly time frame. Now, I'm using this because, again, I'm going into this with the intention that I'm going to be a day trader. All right, that's very important to understand because you have to know that before you do anything else. Before you even look at a chart, you need to know, am I looking for a day trade? Am I looking for a swing trade? Am I looking for an investment? If you don't know that, you're asking for trouble, especially with the Trade Scanner Pro. You have no business using the Trade Scanner Pro if you don't know that part. So in my case here, I'm looking to day trade, which means it's going to limit what time frames I look at. So I'm looking at the 1 hour chart and I'm looking at the 1 minute chart. The 1 hour chart gives me context and it helps me arrive at a trade idea. The 1 minute chart is my action time frame. That's where I'm going to take the trade idea because the 1 minute chart is basically where my risk is going to be defined, where my profit objective is going to be defined, and I'm not planning to take any overnights or anything. It's not going to be a swing trade. So 1 minute is appropriate. Plus, I want to demonstrate the script. And if I'm doing this on a 5 minute chart or a 15-minute chart, it will take hours before a signal may appear. And I'm not going to stream for hours, although I should probably do that to get more followers. Anyway, all right. So this is Ethereum. This is Bitcoin. I'm going to start with Bitcoin first. Now, clearly the trend is bullish. So I'm looking when I'm looking for context, I'm looking for two things and only two things. So you notice my charts are blank. I don't have any oscillators on them. I don't have any all kinds of drawings and nonsense on them because I only need to extract two pieces of information, trend and support and resistance levels. That is all I need for context. Once I have the context, I can then come up with a trade idea. Once I have my trade idea, the Trade Scanner Pro can confirm the idea for me and define my risk and give me a reasonable profit objective. That's the whole process. So let's start with my context, right? The 1 hour chart. Now I'm going to go back to Bitcoin because I have Ethereum on here, right? So we're going to go back to Bitcoin perp. We'll start with Bitcoin. I like Bitcoin because it moves. Ethereum could be a pain. It moves too, but it could be a real pain at times, especially from the experiments that I've been doing with the real money. I mean, it could really requires a lot of patience to watch. All right, where Bitcoin, you can get something out of it because it moves so much, right? Because the price is so high and all that, whatever. Now, trend is no question. I don't have to guess that. The trend is bullish. But what are my support and resistance levels? So I'm going to do this. I'm going to expand my 1 hour chart here so we can kind of get an idea. This is pretty simple, actually, because all I have to do is close up the chart a bit, right? Just get a little more of a data sample and start drawing horizontal lines at inflection points where there are major reactions. That's pretty easy to see. I don't need to be some kind of mathematical genius or have some kind of special tool to do this. That's it. See these levels I just drew on my chart? These are the levels, right? Pretty decent inflection point here. Pretty decent inflection point here. What I mean by inflection point is there's a reaction. There's a significant reaction from that level. What's a significant reaction? Well, look, measure this move right here. What is that? That's a 4,500 point move, right? 4512, it says there. 45.12 in like 11 bars or 12 bars in 12 hours. That's a pretty significant movement. So that's what I mean by inflection point. If it's like a couple of 100 points, that's not significant. So, movements like this are not exactly significant. So why do I have a line drawn there? Because look, you have one here. You have a reaction over here. You have a reaction in this area here. So those lines projected forward can give us points of reference or support and resistance levels. Now, keep in mind, these are only relevant for the trade that I'm looking to take now. If I'm looking to do other types of trades, I need to look at other support and resistance levels relative to those time frames. It's very important to understand. So based on that, let me see. Are we at a resistance right now? I have to answer that question. Yes, we are near a resistance. Look at that. So we do have some resistance up here. Okay. And I mean, look at the current candle. The current hourly candle has rejected that resistance with a pin bar. So notice I first start out with like a bigger picture, and I know my trend, so I know the bias is bullish. And now I'm zooming in and I'm noticing the price action. So we have a resistance up here. We have a bearish pin bar developing right now. All right, we have less than 15 minutes before this candle closes. All right, interesting. But the general momentum is bullish. So I have to keep that in mind. If I'm going to look for shorts in this situation, which may be viable because of the resistance, I have to realize that the short probability is stacked against me a bit, so automatically I adjust. Shorts are going to be aggressive. I can be open to them, but they're going to be aggressive. And if I take a short, I should expect less, not more. Just because it's at a high level, whoa, it's got a longer way to pull back. Maybe, but the market's strong. So buyers are looking to step into this at any moment. Some stupid news comes out, this thing's up another 2,000 points, right? Because that's the bias right now. So taking the short side is much riskier. I'm open to it in this situation, but understand that. So if I'm looking for longs, I can be more aggressive with longs. I can be more expectant of longs. I should let the winner ride if I catch a winner, because just because we're at a resistance doesn't guarantee it's going to reverse here, right? The next candle may blow right through, because again, the general bias is bullish, and that right there is a higher low. So higher low typically leads to higher high. So I'm not going to get all confused by this one single candle. I'm telling you this so that you don't run into these situations, right? So when it comes to the Trade Scanner Pro, I have two ways to go about this. I can go for the aggressive short, or I can go for the conservative long. I'm going to try with the conservative long first. All right, let's see how that goes. So that's where I get my idea from. Based on what I just looked at on my 1 hour chart, I'm going to lean on the long side. Okay. Now I will change that idea if we can break this low right here. So 101.223 is the low. If we break that low, then I will start leaning on the short side or try to look for short signals. So remember, the Trade Scanner Pro is a confirmation tool and it's a management tool. I need to come to the market with an idea. If I don't have an idea, then I'm more susceptible to random trades, random signals. And right now, the Trade Scanner Pro delivers a lot of random signals, right? And we're cleaning that up, actually, with the new version. So now look, there's a signal here that's in play. It looks like the signal became active. I'm going to buy this thing right now. All right, I'm on Bitcoin. I'm going to buy 2 contracts. All right, let's buy 2. I'm long. The signal happens just to be there. Now, one thing I have to mention, especially when contrasting to using real money, because again, this is a practice account, and I'm doing this for demonstration purposes. But when it comes to real money and working with an account like $1,000 account, which is actually a very small account, I'm not going to be taking 2 Bitcoins long. All right, I'm going to be taking a fraction of that, because when you work with decentralized exchanges, you can actually have much more control over your size. I'm not limited to 1 coin. I can do a small fraction. I can do like 1/8 of a coin, or I can do a 1/16 of a coin, right? So when you're dealing with $1,000 account and you're working with Bitcoin and you're only working with like 20 times leverage, which is typical on the decentralized exchanges that I'm looking at, that's what you're looking at. All right, so a fraction of a coin. So this P&L here is going to be a little inaccurate. All right. You're going to see a big number because I'm long 2 coins. I'm not going to be able to afford 2 coins with $1,000 account. Just keep that in mind. I just bought 2 coins because I want to be able to sell one and then try to ride a winner if the market gives me that opportunity. So I took that long because we have this confirmation. So notice the Trade Scanner Pro gives me the stop loss, it gives me the entry price, and it gives me a profit objective on my 1-minute chart. Cool. So the overall, we know that the major resistance is up here. That's the blue line that I drew earlier from my 1-hour chart. It appears here on my 1 minute. Okay, cool. So we'll see if price can work its way up there. Now, generally, we know price is biased to the bullish side. So I'm not going to be so quick to be bearish on this one, right? Even though I see a bearish structure here, lower highs and lower lows, we know the general trend is pretty bullish. So you have to keep that in mind, right? And we have to have a line. We basically have to have a point where we say, okay, it's no longer bullish for now. We're going to work on the bear side. There has to be a technical line to help us define that. And that's that low that I pointed out before, okay, which we can see on this chart. I believe it's this low over here. If I go to my hourly, yeah, it's this low right here on the hourly, okay, that low. If we break that low, then I'm going to treat longs as a lower priority than I will right now. So does that make sense? Let me know if you have questions about this. Can I pay for XX? Hey, XX, you're not Dan, by the way, are you? Are you Dan from Romania? Because he used to use that. No, XX. Let me see. Hey, Malad, how are you? I'm just looking at the chat now. XX never put where he's from. Are you from Romania, XX? I remember you, Dan, if that's you. Long time no see. Okay, Givo. I remember you mentioning Givo, Alex. Dan, we're from Romania. There was, of course, I remember you, man. Dan, and then there was what's his name? Schwartz, the international man of mystery. My Romanians, they're back. All right, cool. I heard, Dan, Schwartz told me a while back that you were here in the U.S. somewhere, and you were doing some kind of thing here, and I'm like, he came to the U.S. and he never told me. But I think you were like on the West Coast or something, which, the U.S. is pretty big. You weren't nearby. But if you come to New York, you got to tell me, man. We gotta drink some beer. I guess you guys drink beers or vodka or something. Okay. So anyway, well, Dan. All right, Dan. I normally don't take those. Here's what I do for the monthly, Dan. It's kind of inconvenient. It's cumbersome for me to take payments like that for the monthly. But you could do yearly. If you want to do the yearly, but we'll talk about that. So I know, Dan, you have some experience, so you may be able to get something out of this. I don't encourage beginners to use this tool because I show these demonstrations and it looks cool and it looks easy, but it's not, because you have to come to the market with an idea. Now, again, like I said, we're working on it so that it's more intuitive than it is right now. But anyway, yeah. So okay, Dan, yeah, then we can work that out, sure. Because I take payments on the yearly, it's no problem. It's just the monthly's a pain because it's recurring, The yearly, you could do a one-time payment. So sure. And you could we'll do the free trial, whatever. And you let me know. I can get some good feedback from you. So who else we got here? I saw you, Malad. Malad, you missed the party, man. You missed the what do you call it? The CMT holiday party. That's okay. We saw your name on the card. We were looking at the cards on the table, and we saw your name. And like, Malad isn't here. Anyway, but there's another one Thursday. There's another event on Thursday. Just go to the CMT site, the calendar, and you'll see it. Savi's registered. If you want to check that out, Malad and Savi, they meet me in the city. They meet me in the city, and we go to these CMT events. It's fun. So okay, no problem. But there's another one coming up Thursday if you're around. There's and it's at another location. They're doing it. I forget. They're doing like a presentation type of thing, and they were looking for people. They was like, hey, we need people to show up to this. So it's like in a shipyard or something. It's on the what do you call it? It's on the pier, from what I understand. I don't know. Savi can tell you because he registered for it. I have to register for it still, but I'm going. So if you want to go to that, cool. Anyway, all right. So back to this. So Dan, it's good to see you, man. It's good to see you from Romania. So yeah, you can. What I'll do is I'll send you an email with the. You could send it in USDT or maybe USDC, whatever. I'll figure it out, and then yeah, you could pay for it that way. But what you can do now is you could sign up for the 14-day free trial, right? Go through the free trial, and if you like it, then cancel the free trial, and then we could work out the payment, because I don't have like a 14-day free trial set up and then you pay like that way. So sign up for the 14-day free trial. In fact, while we're waiting for this trade to play out, look, I'll show it on the screen right here. Just go to this site, Dan, right? Just go to this site, right? You scroll through here. Things have changed a lot, Dan, since I've seen you. You scroll to the bottom here, right? And this is like the sign-up form, and that's yearly, right? You could do yearly or monthly. So yearly, it comes to $22.50 a month. You just click on this here, right? You fill out this form, Dan. Just fill out this form. Make sure you put your TradingView username in that field. That's very important. And then you'll get, within about 30 minutes to 1 hour, you will receive the invite on TradingView, and then you can put it on your chart. And then you have 2 weeks to play with it for free. If you like it, then what you do is you cancel, right? Cancel the free trial, and then you can just send me the payment in the coin or whatever, and then you'll have access to it. All right, but I think actually, you know what? This is going to ask you for payment information. So I mean, you can put your payment information in here, whatever, and then just cancel it, if that's cool. If not, if you don't want to do it that way, then we'll figure it out. All right, makes sense? So that's how that works. Okay, so while we're waiting here, any questions about the Trade Scanner Pro? So notice, here's where the Trade Scanner Pro really shines, is it simplifies the decision-making process. Right now, I don't have to do anything. I came up with the idea. That was all the thinking that I had to do, right? And now it's, we just went through the, hold on a second here. I forgot to turn these on. Okay. Okay, there we go. I forgot to go over the settings. I usually have the settings panel off. You have to make sure the settings are on so that you get the trailing stop after it goes through the objective. So we went through the objective. I'm going to sell one because we're at the objective here. All right. So I sold one contract, right? Because we reached the profit objective, again, on a 1 minute chart. So again, I knew going into this that I was interested in longs, even though we were at near a resistance. Now, the price action is getting funky here. What time is it? It's 4 o'clock. The market just closed. So Bitcoin usually gets a little jumpy, right, at the market close. This is typical. So, all right, no problem. It gave me an opportunity to lock one in. I'm locked in. I took profit on one. Now I'm going to try to let my winner ride. Now, as you can see, this is in real time. I can't fake this like all these clowns out there with their fake trades that they record and then they show you after the fact. You can follow this on your charts as I speak. And I'm going to do this with real money, right? Right now, this is a practice account, like I explained earlier. So the goal now is to see if the trailing stop can kick in. I should have had it on earlier. I don't know if the trailing stop is going to kick in now because this trade was taken without it in. The trailing stop will start to follow this thing, right? And it'll reduce my risk to zero because the trailing stop will eventually, as long as this continues going in my favor, the trailing stop will work its way up. Oh, there it is. Okay, cool. So there's the trailing stop. It's this yellow line over here. And as the market continues to give me closing candles, the trailing stop will just start trailing the price. Eventually, it will go to the entry price, which will then render my trade risk-free. Because if price goes back to my entry price, I should get out for break even. One very important note is you must respect these stop orders, especially the stop orders. I cannot emphasize that enough, because if you don't respect these stop orders and take the loss, you can be exposing yourself to a massive move on the wrong side. Because again, this is a 1 minute chart. So it's not taking into account where you are in the bigger picture. It's just calling a trade, and it could be at a very bad price in terms of the bigger picture. But relative to this time frame, it's a sound trade. Does that make sense? So you must respect the stops. So if it goes to the stop, you get out, you take the loss. You must do that. Otherwise, you're asking for big trouble. So the point is, the trailing stop now is reducing my risk. So if this thing pulls back right now, which it can, and give me a bunch of red candles, my risk is no longer the original risk, which was 160 points. That was defined by the Trade Scanner Pro. My new risk, based on my trailing stop, is 109 points. So my risk was reduced by 50 points, right, in this few minutes. Cool, right? So that is what basically promotes the idea of cut your losses short and let your winners run. So my risk is always being reduced by the trailing stop. In the next couple of candles, even if the trade scanner, even if the market gives me some red candles, this thing is going to keep rising, and eventually it's going to give me a break-even trade, right, in terms of risk. But the idea is to let the market run. As we talked about before, there's a bullish bias in this market. So I want to be more aggressive with my longs. I want to give them more of a chance. One of the nice things about the Trade Scanner Pro is it simplifies the whole decision-making process. I don't have to think at this point. I've done my thinking. I figured out the long. I waited for confirmation. I got the confirmation. It was nice that it was there. By the time I was starting to look at the charts, it was there. Sometimes you have to wait long periods for a trade to appear. Now look, the previous trade was back here. See this green arrow here? That was actually a profit of 230 points based on the profit objective. This little one back here, see that? So that took from that signal to the current signal, that took 71 minutes. So think about that. You had to sit there and wait 71 minutes for another signal, and there was some movement in that 71 minutes. So to capture this, you're like, oh, but I want a piece of this. You have to go to an even smaller time frame, smaller than 1 minute. And you can only do that if you pay the full version of TradingView. You don't need the premium version of TradingView to run Trade Scanner Pro. You don't need it, but you do get some benefits from having it. Make sense? So, and that's where sometimes I have to show examples. Like if you go to the week before, which no one was watching, by the way, if you watch my previous stream, I had a big trade on Ethereum. I think it was Ethereum. It was a short. I think it was a short. And I had to take that trade on a 15-second chart because that's the only place I could find action. Now, that's something, again, for people with more experience. I don't recommend that for beginners. I'm long, Sardar. I'm long. So I bought. I'm long, and I'm waiting to sell. But I'm collecting. Right now, the market wants to pay me more, so I'm staying in it. My selling points are either we pull back to this line right here, right? That I either get out there, or I let this thing run, and I see how far it goes before it stops me out. So the trailing stop now pretty much takes over my trade. I no longer have to think. I no longer have to do any analysis. The Trade Scanner Pro takes over. So this is where this run right here on Bitcoin, I mean, we can think of this as a random run. We don't know how far it's going to go. I have no idea. I don't have to sit here and do, all kinds of analysis to figure that out. It's going to run as far as it wants to run, and at some point it's going to turn. When it turns, eventually it's going to touch my trailing stop, and that is when I get out. It's that simple. So I no longer have to think. I locked in one. I had 2 contracts. I locked in one at the profit objective, so I took some profit. Now, my trailing stop is at break even. If this thing pulls all the way back, which it can, and goes all the way back to break even, especially since we're at a resistance up here, I'm still making money on the trade because, yeah, I'll give back half the money, but I locked in one. I locked in a profit on one of them, right? So it's still green. That's how you have to play this game. You can't sit here, no, you're going to give it all back. Yeah. That's emotion and that's greed. You can't be so connected to the outcome like that. If you want, especially if you want to capture bigger moves, you just have to be open and let the market do its thing and not think, right? Remember Dan? I used to tell Dan all the time, Dan, you can't think. Don't think. Let the market tell you, right? So in this case, this is where the Trade Scanner Pro handles that for you and helps you capitalize on the random nature of the market rather than be fooled by it. Because again, we don't know where this thing's going. It wants to go higher, let it go higher. If it turns around and goes the wrong way, well, I have my plan. I'm going to get out when it touches this yellow line. And by the way, the yellow line is now above the blue line, which means my trade is beyond risk-free, right? My trade is automatic profit. If I get stopped out here, I'm not making much, but it's not negative, right? In order for me to be negative, I have to get out below the blue line. But the blue line is my entry price. Make sense? So my risk went from 160 points to risk-free. Now, what that does over time, now, of course, there's going to be situations where you get stopped out, or the trailing stop is below the blue line and you get stopped out for a loss, but a smaller loss. What that does over time is it shrinks your losing trades and it allows your winners to run. So it skews your reward risk in your favor. But again, this is over 500 trades. This is over 1,000 trades, assuming you're taking the trades for the right reason. Like I said before, if you just jump into a signal just because a signal is there, you're taking a random trade. Okay? Please be mindful of that. That's very important. All right. So I explained to you guys, if you want to try out for the 14-day free trial, I explained that while we're waiting for this trade to do something. Notice we're hesitating up at the resistance. Normally, without the Trade Scanner Pro, I may be prone to getting out here. Like, whoa, we're at a resistance. I'm going to get out, right? But with the Trade Scanner Pro, I have some structure here to kind of let the market breathe, give it more of a chance. Some people are going to get short here. And while that may work because we're at a resistance, right? And we have sold off here just before. There was a little bit of a sell-off here, you could see. While that might work, probability does not favor that. Probability favors the break of resistance. Why? Because we have a higher low. Higher lows typically lead to higher highs. So if I'm going to lean on the side of probability, that would be the thing to do, right? And the Trade Scanner Pro gives me a point of reference here. Notice my trailing stop is rising nicely above the entry price. So my profit, my stop out profit keeps increasing. Now I can get out right now for a nice profit, but I'm trying to give it a chance. That's why you lock one in and you let your winner run. This is how you capture 2-to-1, 3-to-1, 4-to-1. I mean, I've had situations where this thing's run 20-to-1, but that's on a 15-second chart. 15 seconds is a very small chart, so it's very easy to do, 10-to-1. It's very easy to do that because why? The risk on a 15-second chart is minuscule. You're looking at like 30 points of risk of something like that on a 15-second chart. On this 1-minute chart, the risk was 160 points. So 30 points of risk is nothing. Bitcoin can run 300 points, which is 10 times that risk, very easily on these time frames, on an intraday time frame. So understand how that works. All right, cool. Any questions while we're watching this thing? Any questions? I'll be banging this out soon. Let's see if we can get the next leg higher. And while we're waiting too, let's look at the bigger picture. Here's the 1 hour. So remember what I said about the 1 hour? We analyzed it, right? Before I took the trade, we used the 1 hour to derive the trade idea, to answer the question, what side should I be looking for trades on? The 1 hour said bullish. Even though we were at a resistance, and we still are, the bias in this situation carries more weight. The bias is bullish. So likely, even though we're messing around the resistance, we're still more likely to break it. Even though we may not break it on this instance, it's still more likely to break. So shorting this, like I said, it may work, but it's a bad idea generally. Because you have to look at it this way. It's not about this one time. It's about repeating the same behavior 1,000 times. If I shorted this trade right here 1,000 times, most likely it would be unprofitable. You can compare that to like playing poker. I bring this up all the time. If you have a hand in poker, like 2 aces before the flop, at that moment, you have the most valuable, the highest possible hand you can have, 2 aces. So at that moment, you have the strongest hand. And usually the right thing to do, at least for a beginner, is to go all in before the flop, right? Because after the flop, things change. But if you're starting out before the flop with, a 2-8 offsuit, that's like a garbage hand. So if someone raises before you or someone goes all in before you, you're going to play that hand, you're going to throw it away typically, unless you're a real gambler and you're like, oh, let's see what happens. Let's see if the flop, right? Maybe, but it's a low probability hand. So typically you're going to throw it away because it's not a profitable hand over thousands of hands. But there's going to be the exception where the one time the flop came out your way and you had a full house and blah, blah, blah. And okay, and the 2-8 offsuit worked out. But that's not typical. The markets work the same way. When it comes to a system in the markets and looking for setups and weighing probabilities, it's the same concept. Now, look, this trade I'm giving it back. All right, no problem. But my trailing stop is here. I'm going to respect the trailing stop if it goes there. Now, a lot of times, as you guys know, I've shown many examples where it almost goes there and then it doesn't. And it turns around and then continues. So that's why you let the Trade Scanner Pro guide your judgment. You don't react. I'm not reacting to this. Okay? I don't care if I give back whatever. I know I'm not going to get the top when I'm using the trailing stop. I know that. So I'm okay. I'm happy with a profit over here. All right, it's not my profit objective, but it's still green. Who cares? That's how you have to look at it. It's a gift from the market. If it goes there, it may turn around right now. So, but I do have this resistance up here. The resistance is sticking. All right. As Dan would say, noted. I remember Dan. Dan used to say it all the time. I'd give Dan some information, and he'd say, noted. Okay, so let's see. Are we going to bang out here or what? It's not up to me. It's up to the market. Okay, we're banging out. Let the line go away. The line has to vanish. When the line vanishes, I bang it out. How much am I up there? I'm up $100. All right, I was up a lot more. I was up probably about like $200 or whatever on that. Again, on one full coin, which I would not be in a full coin if I was working with a $1,000 account. But I'm letting the market decide for me here. I'm going to stay in this thing until that orange line vanishes. And then the whole trade will vanish. Or all the lines will vanish once it's touched. There it goes. Out. Respected. Okay, so that's it. The market failed at this resistance. Now, looking back, you could say, oh, you should have shorted it. Well, like I just finished saying, over 1,000 trades, that's not the right thing to do. Now it's giving me a heads up. These green columns, by the way, highlight these orange candles. Those orange candles are what we refer to as heads up. Heads up is a setting that you can change. Heads up, as you can see, it's one of the settings in the settings panel, and it basically lets you know that a signal is likely to appear in the next 3 to 5 candles. So on a 1-minute chart, that's in the next 3 to 5 minutes. All right. That's what a heads up is. They don't guarantee though. Look, I mean, we got a heads up over here and it took like 5 candles or a little bit more. And then we got another one and then the signal came, right? This was the signal. This was the signal. So that's how it works. Now, again, you say, oh, you got shaken out. Well, I told you, I'm going to respect the order. I don't know what this thing's going to do from here. You respect it. You don't look back and feel bad about it. You respect it because it will save you a lot of money over time by just respecting it. This thing may go all the way back to the entry price or lower, right? So at least I locked something in. if we look at my record over here and we just look at the account history, so the first trade was 184 and the second trade was 68. And then I have like these commission calculations in here. That's what those negative numbers are. Those are commissions. So 184 plus 68. So net, that's like 200 and something. Okay. It's $230 or something like that. Okay, cool. That's not bad. Now, in a $1,000 account situation, that probably would have translated more into like a $25 or $30 profit, maybe something along those lines. Not, because I'm basically fooling around with 10 or 20 times the size when I'm working with 2 full Bitcoins. Make sense? All right. Any questions? So that's a nice trade example. There's no need for me to take another one, and we have no signal right now. I can go to a smaller time frame and try to find a signal, but I'm not going to do that. Now, one thing I want to mention is when you're working with this Trade Scanner Pro, I'm showing you 1-minute examples. This is not ideal for the beginner. If you want to have an optimal experience, I would recommend 15-minute charts if you want a day trade, or 5-minute charts. I can't really demonstrate that here because it'll take forever for those trades to unfold. But here's how you do it. Okay, here's how you do it. When you want to wait for a 15-minute chart or 15-minute signal, you don't sit in front of your computer. You go to the notifications here. You right-click on the chart, okay, and you can add a notification right there. See that? And then TradingView will give you a number of choices. You can get it by SMS text. You can get a pop-up from your app. You pick your choice, and you select the Trade Scanner Pro. And the Trade Scanner Pro will notify you when there's a heads up. It'll notify you when there's a new signal. It'll also notify you when a profit objective or a stop loss is reached. So you get that automatically. Now, usually it takes about a minute or so coming from TradingView. But if you are in a restricted country, which we've seen this before, some of these restricted countries tend to have a delay on their internet, and that's going to affect you here. So this would not be practical. Like if you're in some of these restricted countries and you have a delay, it's going to take like 30 minutes for a signal to be received, a notification to be received. So just know that. So Dan, you have a question. How do you deal with the commissions? If the trade on 1-minute chart with the 0.1% commission is typically Binance cover, I basically have to wait about 200. Okay, so that's a good question, Dan. And that question I'm actually going to be addressed. You're talking about the spot market. And to day trade this practically, you can't do it on the spot market. You have to look at the perpetual futures contracts. And that's where the cost is much more accommodating, right? Like I'm looking at a decentralized exchange right now because I'm going to do this. I'm going to demonstrate this with real money. Right now, I'm showing you a practice account, right? So we can say, it doesn't really count. Hey, Aries, how are you? Happy New Year. But I've been experimenting with real money because I want to do that demonstration, right? With $1,000 account, bring it up to $2,000. And I'm working with decentralized exchange because I have to from the US because everything is blocked. I can't use a centralized exchange. So the cost is a really important part of the whole equation. And when I'm working with what I'm working with, the costs are adequate. Like they're very comparable to futures. Right, like using like for example, like if you trade NASDAQ futures, the cost from the CME is typically like the big contract is like $4 or something like that. $4 in, $4 out. It's something. I think it's like 4 something. So it's a total of $8, I think, round trip. But each point is like $20 or whatever. So it's worth it. So it's similar to that. Okay. So yeah, so the perpetual futures, it's very similar, right? It's almost the same thing, except with the perpetual futures, you can use leverage. You can like up to 20 times, at least the exchange that I'm looking at, you can use up to 20 times leverage. So what happens is you have to convert some of your currency into a currency that they can accept, like Arbitrum, for example. That's the one I'm using, Arbitrum. You convert to Arbitrum, and then you have to deposit that Arbitrum into their account, and then that's what you actually trade. And then you could trade whatever currency you want through their perpetual futures contracts, right? It could be whatever, Ethereum, it could be Bitcoin, it could be, they have a lot of these altcoins, which I don't even bother with, but they're all there. And I think the best use is really for day trades, but you could swing trade and you can position trade as well, and you can use leverage. So they allow all that stuff. Anyway, Dan, what I'll do is let me know if you're signing up for the free trial, like if you're able to do that for the Trade Scanner Pro. And we'll communicate by email. I'll let you know the exchange that I'm looking at. I don't want to say it publicly right now because I may not use them overall. And I don't want to like get people going to this exchange. And for one, I'm not going to be an affiliate for the exchange. Whatever exchange I do decide to go with, I'm not going to be an affiliate for them because I don't like that nonsense. If people are very interested, maybe I could work out something with Steen. I'd rather have him get the affiliate fees if there are any, but I'm not going to do it. So that's why I don't want to go promoting exchanges and being like, oh, everyone, I'm using this one. And I don't want people signing up for it and giving them free promotion. So anyway, So Dan, I'll send you like who I'm looking at, and you can experiment with them if you want. You can check out their platform. You can look at the costs and all that. But the costs are a big part of the whole thing, and it has to be reasonable. But what I would recommend for you too, if you're using a tool like this, I would recommend working with smaller positions in the beginning, because again, you can leverage the position. So I would encourage you to work with smaller. Don't go like all in, man. Like I know you're a very aggressive guy, and there's nothing wrong with that. But just for your own protection, I would recommend that. I will. Yeah, I'm still in there, but you know what? I have to sign back in. So it's easier if you send me an email, if possible. If you can send me an email, I'll get to it faster. Okay, and I'll send you. There are several free options. Well, yeah, right. So stop fooling around. Correct. You can use a centralized exchange. I can't because of KYC, right? Know your customer, and I could use a VPN. Like if you're in the US, for example, the one that I'm using requires a VPN, but they don't do KYC, so I can use them. But I've tried a number of centralized exchanges that at one time were open to US as long as you were using a VPN. They never required that you had to send a government ID, but now they do. So I can't use any of them because once they say, oh, you're from the US, okay, you can't use our exchange. They're following those FinCEN guidelines or whatever, like, the European regulator, whatever, whoever that is, nonsense. They're following that. And I can't. So I want a solution that U.S. residents and non-U.S. residents can equally use. But you're open to use whoever you want. Okay, you want to use KuCoin. You want to use one of these centralized exchanges. It's the same deal, pretty much, right? They have usually it's a more adequate cost. I mean, I prefer. I'll tell you honestly, who I would use. If I could, is Bybit. I would use Bybit. I like their platform. Their costs seem to be adequate. Steen uses them. So Bybit would have been my choice, but they won't let me open an account there. So, and if you do happen to use Bybit, talk to Steen first. I mean, I think he put a hold on the affiliate links for some reason, that there's some kind of regulation thing he told me. But if you're going to open an account with Bybit, I'd rather have you do it through Steen's affiliate link. He gets a cut of your commissions or whatever. But the guy does a lot of work. You know what I mean? And he really helps me out a lot. I mean, I would not be where I am with this Trade Scanner Pro if it wasn't for Steen and the work that he puts into it. It's a lot of work. Especially I give him all kinds of notes and details and this and that. And he's got to sit there. He works a full-time job. He doesn't work for me full-time. The guy works a full-time job, and he has a family, and he's got kids, and he's got to pay through school and all kinds of stuff. And he still finds the time to help me develop this stuff. So anyway. All right, you guys. So any questions? So I showed you an interesting trade here. We're watching this thing fool around a bit, right? Bitcoin's still strong. It is a lower high, but look, this is generally strong. Look, there's a next signal. Okay? I had the heads up. You saw how the heads up worked. It gave me a warning. Okay. Gave me a warning. I mean, for fun. Let's just take it. I'm going to take one contract for fun. I don't know where this is going to go. Let's see if anything turns. This may stop right out, but let's see. Again, you can see the signal is the blue line, right? My profit objective is the green line, which happens to be this resistance again. But see, in a situation like this, what I would do, because I know that there's resistance here, and I know it's kind of fooling around, and this is not a good time of day. 4:30 Eastern is not a good time of day. I would probably take my profit earlier. Like, so if we could get like to this midpoint area and it gives me a hard time, I'll just get out. So notice I only took one contract, not two, because I'm not planning to ride a runner here. Now, if this happens to do something stupid for no reason, and I happen to be in it, okay, I'll try to work with it, but I don't expect that, right? So I'm trying to use some of my experience to just help guide what I'm going to do outside of the Trade Scanner Pro. So like I said, I'm open to taking a profit earlier, and I'm only in one contract rather than two. So that tells you I'm not expecting the breakout. I'm not expecting the higher high. And this is probably going to be a noisy trade. It's most likely a random trade, but it's long, and I'm trying to work on the long side because we know the general bias is bullish. All right. But again, this is a bad time to be doing this. I just wanted to give it a try for fun. Any questions? So you guys see how the Trade Scanner Pro works. If you want a more detailed tutorial, there's a link in the description. All right. It's a video that I had done a while back. And I am actually working on more content that's going to be educational. So I'm going to have like a free version for my free trial people. It'll have the setup stuff. It'll have how to look for a trade, just like I showed you here. It'll talk about counter trend mode. It'll talk about all those things, right? And then I'll have like all kinds of other tips and examples. That's all going to be free for people that are on the free trial. Then I'm going to have a premium version of the education, which will be for people who subscribe. So it's not going to cost you extra. It's just a perk that will come along with being a subscriber. That's going to take me a little while to develop that, but that's on my list of things to do. All right. While I'm trying to improve the quality of the channel as well, with a cooler background, not this white room. No one likes the white room. So anyway, any questions? This trade looks like garbage. Any questions before I bang this thing out? I'm probably not even going to wait for the stop. But let's see. Actually, I should wait for the stop. I should respect it like I just talked about before. So that's my risk. That is 137 points of risk. All right. On one coin, that's $137. Now, on a $1,000 account, that's 13%. That's actually ridiculously high risk. I should not be taking such a big position on a $1,000 account. I'm wiping out more than 10% in one trade. That's too big of a position, right? See how that works? Just as an example. This is on paper, so it doesn't matter. But in reality, when I do this with real money on a $1,000 account, I will not be taking positions this big. Realize this is a position of a value that's $102,000 value position. So if I was going to leverage a $1,000 account, obviously I would have to do 100 times leverage or something like that. And the exchange that I'm using, the one that I'm looking at, doesn't even offer that. So, but that wouldn't be a good idea anyway. Why would I want to risk 10% of my account in one trade? That's bad. I should only be risking like 2% or something like that typically, which, you know, for a $1,000 account, 2% is $20. Okay, just to give you an idea. All right, I'm gonna have to bang this out. Once it goes to the stop, so good. You get to see a winning trade and you get to see a losing trade. Now, that's why, again, I only took one contract. I wasn't very optimistic about this trade. Still hasn't stopped out yet. So we have to let it go to the stop. I'll give it a few more minutes. What would be reasonable max leverage that you recommend? Good question. Stop fooling around. 50 times. I mean, it really depends on your account size. All right, banging out. Goodbye. Banging out. That's what happens when you take bad trades. 30 to 50 times, I think, is reasonable. But again, how much money is in your account? You know, working with less than $1,000 is going to be very hard to do anything with, really honestly. Even $1,000, turning it into $2,000, that's not something that I'm going to be able to do in one day, right? Because of the size constraints, that may take me a month, may take me longer, because I'm not going to trade that every day, right? I have other accounts I have to trade for real. So, so from a practical standpoint, if you have $1,000 account, yeah, you want to be able to work with some size. Like, for example, Ethereum, right? Ethereum is what I've been working on with the most. And you could reasonably trade 5 coins or 10 coins. And you can grab $30 to $40 to $50 in a trade, in like a 10-point trade or a 5-point trade. Like, that's cool. That's within reason on a day trade time frame. So to do that, I need 30 to 50 times leverage just comfortably on a, for Ethereum. But technically, I could work with less. So that's why I say anywhere between 20 and 50 times is more than enough. Okay. Dan, you put a question mark. What's your question? I don't know what you put a question mark, but I don't know what your question is. Now, notice, I got stopped out and Bitcoin's really not going lower. And I'm getting another heads up for a signal, which means in the next few minutes, another signal is going to pop up. All right. Dan, you have a question? So you guys got the idea. Again, you go to the Trade Scanner Pro. You could sign up here for your 14-day free trial. Like I said, make sure you input your TradingView username correctly. There's the signal. Now, this is noisy. And this could be a high or low. Let's watch the next candle. Should I send you the email at the support? Oh, yeah. Oh, okay. It blocked your because you put an email address in there, right? There's a filter in there. Yeah, support at Mark. Or you could just do mark at Mark P Markets. You could do support at Market Signals Pro, or you could do mark at Mark P Markets. I'll still get the email. Either one. I'll put that in the channel since people can't put it in the channel. Right? You can send me an email to this email address. You can send to that, or support at Market Signals Pro. Either one. Good question. That's why I couldn't see your question, Dan. Okay, so anyway, yeah. So that's the story. I took this trade just to see if it kind of goes anywhere, but as you can see, it's just being problematic. It goes to show, look where we are, location. We're fooling around resistance. Even though this thing is generally bullish, the momentum is just not here right now. So just as a lesson real quick before I sign off, what should I do? Like, I want to work with long, so I'm not going to switch to the short side because we haven't broken that support earlier, right? I should not switch to the short side until we break this support. That's the plan. Because this thing, even though it looks ugly and it looks like it may turn bearish, there's a lot of room in this area. There's a lot of room for fooling around, and it may continue bullish, right? So I'm not going to be so quick to jump to that conclusion. Cool, Dan. Cool. All right, I'll check it out. I'll get to it tonight. I'll get to it tonight. I'll respond. Thank you, and it's good seeing you again, man. I'm glad you're still around. Dan was one of my first students when I first started my training program. Dan was like the first guy to join. I remember that, Dan. So that was back in 22. I think that was back like in February of 22 when I started my training program. And Steen also was my first. Steen was part of the first group of students from that time. That's when I first met Steen, who builds my training, who builds my my program here. But that Steen was one of the first people that joined. Dan was the first, and Steen was part of that first group. I have a good memory. All right, so the question I want to ask you guys real quick before I sign this off is to go long. right? So this thing is giving me a hard time. I keep getting signals because you're going to have to answer this question for yourself when you're in this situation, so you don't keep taking bad trades. Because again, I told you this thing can give you a lot of random trades. So far, these two trades stink, right? Even though the general trend is bullish, these trades aren't following through. So what should I do you think, before taking more long signals? Because this thing is just hesitating. See, I have to bang this thing out again. See that? Bang it out. Bang it out early because it's probably going to get stopped out. What should I do? It's a tough question. Most people are probably going to answer that question. So I'll answer it for you. What I should do is I should wait until one of these little resistances are broken. That's what I should do. So if I'm going to go long, so that means any long signal that appears now, I should just ignore. Now, the new version of the Trade Scanner Pro is going to factor that in. So it's not something you're going to have to really be good at once we have the new version out. But it's a lesson you should learn either way. You should wait, or I should, before I take another signal, I should wait until the structure breaks the other way, meaning we break bullish, because this is bearish now, right? Lower highs, lower lows. I'm not going to say that the trend is bearish yet because it's very minor still. And we're still in an area. Notice these lines that I drew on the chart. Anywhere inside of this zone, I can get a bullish reversal anywhere inside of here. So I'm not going to be so quick to short this thing is what that means. I'm not going to be quick to short. If I'm going to start shorting, it's going to have to be below this line because that means support would be broken. But until then, support is still intact. And this is just, I can just basically think of this as noise. But I'm not going to sit there and stay in a position and hope. I'm just going to get out, take the loss, and then wait for the structure to restructure. And what is that? That is breaking one of these little minor peaks. That's all. Okay? So I have to simply wait. When we can break one of those peaks, that means it's changing back. And since the general bias is bullish, that should start to carry it along. And then I should be looking for long signals after that point. Does that make sense? Let me see if I could show you an example of that from price action real quick. So let's look back here a bit. And let's see if we could find examples. Right, so now here's a situation here. Now look at this. Here's a long trade. That got stopped out. Here's a long trade. Got stopped out. Eventually, the structure broke and changed, right? Now, I should be looking for long signals after that break. It took a while before I got one. These two hadn't gone very far, but eventually they start to go, right? This one may have stopped out. This one was probably worth something. Then you have this one, that was the one that I took earlier, right? You're like, well, those signals suck. Well, what about this move here? How come I can't get this move? You can get this move, but you'd have to work on a smaller time frame. When the market is moving this fast and you have a break, right? A break like this, how big is that break? From this resistance, let's see. Let's just measure it. This thing breaks and it goes up here before it turns around a bit. 1,700 point break. That's a fast market. And then it pulls back, right? This little pullback. No signal because I have to be on a smaller time frame. When you have a very fast market, let me show you, right? So I'll go to a 15-second chart just to show you. You're going to see a lot of signals on this chart. Long and short signals. Many of them are noise. Look at that one, right? Let's go back to that big move. Let's look back here. Here's that big move, right? On a 15-second chart. This is the move. See this? So on that 15-second move, after it runs up 1,700 points, you have these little pullbacks, right? This one was bad, but this one worked. And then you have the run. That's a 15-second chart. I can go to a 5-second chart, and I'm probably going to spot signals on these pullbacks. Now, again, what I'm showing you here is really for more advanced traders. Like, I would not recommend this for beginners, but this is the reality of it. This is where it's at. So let's see if I could find that steep little pullback. Do I have any signals on this? On a 5 second? No signals. So these pullbacks weren't pulled, they haven't pulled back far enough, okay, on that move. But let's look around. Let me see something. No, it was looking for longs. It was looking for longs at the time. There's going to be situations where you don't have signals, right? And you got all these heads up on the bearish side when it's pulling back. It can be very noisy, but that's why we have this upgrade coming. This is the 30-second chart, okay? We have an upgrade coming where it's going to clean up a lot of those signals. It's going to clean up a lot of those random signals. And like I said, it's going to have a status line on the bottom. So that line is going to look like this. It's going to be like a horizontal line, but it's not going to be an oscillator. It's just going to be a line. And the line is going to change color. So for example, in this section right here, like not at the exact bottom, but let's say, because it's not going to happen at the exact bottom. Let me give you an example. Like from here to like here, you're going to see a green line on the bottom here, right? It's going to be like a bright green line because that tells you that this is bullish, that section is very bullish. And you're going to want to take signals in that section if a signal appears. And you got a signal right there, right? That's what it's going to look like. So it's going to be way more intuitive. Now, when you have a situation like this, where you get some kind of pullback, right? Like a decent pullback on this time frame. Remember, this is 30 seconds. You're going to see the color of the line change. And it's going to be like a forest green color, for example. And you're going to know that bearish momentum may be entering the picture. What will happen with the script is it's going to filter out this signal. This signal will not appear. Even though it may have been worth a little something, it's not going to appear. Okay, so it's going to clean up a lot of that. And it's going to make it a lot more intuitive, like I said. Anyway, we're working on that. Stian sent me an update. I sent him notes on it. So he's still working on it, but the next update we should be even closer. All right, so that's where we're at. Cool. So let me just change this back to the 1 hour. Any questions, anyone? How many people I got watching? A little bit more than the week before. Any questions? I know I talk a lot. All right, they're both on the 1 hour chart. So I just want to change this back to the 1 minute. Any questions? So as you can see, the location here is having an effect. The resistance is sticking. All right. All right. So the thing to do, like I said, wait for these little minor peaks to break. That's when you start looking for longs again. Or, you wait for the support to get tested and a reversal there. Now that's counter trend mode. I'm not going to talk about counter trend mode right now. That's more advanced. And I'm going to make a tutorial on it. But counter trend mode, just so you know, you would go to your settings panel and you'd switch it up here to counter trend mode. And that basically looks for signals on the opposite side. How do you place the orders that fast on a 15-second chart? Well, that's a good question. You have to have either an interface like this, which these decentralized exchanges do not have. But what they have is it's set up more like MetaTrader, where you have just a button and just buy Bitcoin, and what I do is I have the platform set up beside my chart. Okay, it's set up right next to it, and when I see the signal, I have the mouse sitting on the button and I just press it. I mean, by the time you introduce the amount to place the order for the momentum, well, no, actually, from the experiments that I've been doing, it's all I set it up in advance. So I know the size that I'm going to trade. Like it's all preset. Like I know because there's a leverage slider. Okay. And the leverage slider tells me, okay, I only want to do 25%. I only want to do 50%. I want to do 75%, 100%. Right. So I pick what leverage I want. I just have it on the slider. I'm not doing this while I'm waiting for the signal. This is all preset. I know what size I'm going in with. Right, as a day trader, that's all predefined. So all I'm waiting for is a signal, and when the signal comes, I press. I'm in. So if you do have to do some setting up, I mean, I can tell you this: when you're working on a 15-minute time frame or a 5-minute time frame, you have plenty of time. You got plenty of time. to mess around with the settings before you take the trade. But when you're working with a micro time frame like this, yeah, you don't have too much time. You have to pretty much be prepared to go and press that button. Just like, with this order ladder here, I press the button and I'm in. I have my size preset and I'm in. I don't have time to set the stop loss and the take profit. I don't have time to set that. Although once I'm in the trade, I can then add that in after the fact. So, I get in and then I can, there's a button that says add stop loss and take profit. I press the button, I put the prices in, I press OK, and it's done. So it is effective time-wise. It is practical because I'm able to do it, and you don't need any kind of special skill or any kind of special experience to be able to do that. So I believe, in my opinion, it's practical. But again, you shouldn't be on 15-second charts to begin with. I'm just showing you examples. You should not be working with 15-second charts. Like, you really need to have some experience because they're very noisy and they can be very problematic. They can get you into a lot of trouble. You should be working like on 5 minutes, 15 minutes, that kind of thing, even for day trades. Like I said, you set your notification on TradingView, you set this over here, and you walk away and you wait for a signal to come up. And when it comes up, you should be all good to go. Make sense? Yes, you can. With MetaTrader, you could set all that in advance. So this is only working on the platform that you use, not Binance. You could use it. No, you could do it on Binance. You just have to adjust. Binance, again, one of those centralized exchanges. Binance is one of my least favorite, by the way, but they have a lot of limitations. They're very confusing. So you kind of have to have this set up in advance. But again, with Binance, you're not using futures, though. You're still using the spot. I believe you have to use their futures, and the futures should give you these order preferences, these order types. So that's why the decentralized exchange that I use has all the adequate stuff, but there are others. They're not the only one. There are others. The order entry should be very simple, and you should be able to preset certain things, like your size and all that other stuff. You shouldn't have to adjust the size every single time. It can't be too cumbersome. But again, if you're working on 5-minute, 15-minute, you will have time to make those adjustments because it's not moving that fast. When we're working with this, so I'm showing you here, I show these time frames for demonstration purposes so that you could see the script in action. Otherwise, like I said, it'd take forever for signals to appear. Okay? Yeah, I know, noise is trouble. That's why we're working on a way to filter a lot of it out, a lot of unnecessary signals. Also, just remember, Dan, when you first get the TradeScanner Pro, a lot of people run into this problem. The first thing you have to do is you have to go to the settings panel because all of this is blank in the setting. It looks like this when you first get it. All these buttons are turned off, right? You have to make sure you turn them on. The new version will have that automatically turned on, but they're automatically turned off. So you'll see nothing on your chart. It'll look like this. There'll be no heads up. There'll be nothing. So just make sure when you sign up for it, make sure you do that. Okay. So now, all right. So I'm going to wrap it up. So Dan, real quick. So are you going to sign up using the free trial like I described before, and just use some other payment method and then cancel it? Are you going to do it like that, or are you going to do it another way? Because if you do it like that, I mean, you get the notification, like you can get started like right away. You just put in some other payment method, and then you cancel it. Was that how you were going to do it, or were you going to? Because the other way, I have to do it the other way. I have to Steen has to put you on a list. So I have to send him a message. So it's a little more time consuming. Noise is good. Depends. I sent you an email asking if I could pay. Okay, cool. No, you can. So if you want to do it that way, then the free trial, because everything is automated, so the free trial, we have to put you on a list. I'm going to have to send Steen a message about that. Well, so it's just easier, Dan. So no, here's what you do. You can pay with whatever, USDC or USDT or whatever. Okay. You can pay that way. But for the free, you might as well take the free trial to see if you want to go. You may not like it, right? So take the free trial. So the fastest way, because you'll get your invite like right away within like 30 minutes. Just go here, go to the site, fill it out, right? Go here, fill it out, fill all this out. You're going to have to put in some kind of payment method, PayPal or your card or whatever. You don't need the free trial? Oh, all right. Okay. All right, cool. Then you want to pay with, all right. So we're going to have to put you like on the list then for that. All right. So I'm going to have to contact Stian, and I'll send you like the wallet address and stuff or whatever. Just give me a day or so. Postponed? Thanks for letting me know. I'm going to have to tell Savi. Really? It's postponed? What's wrong with these people? All right, Dan. Well, Dan, we have a lot coming. You know what? I've been running this thing since April. Steen got this thing running for me like this, and we've been doing nothing but evolving it and improving it. And the next improvement is going to be a big one. So I think you're going to like where we're taking it. It's going to make it a lot easier than the way it is right now. New York chapter kickoff event. What? Yeah, that's the one for the 9th. So it's postponed. Yeah, that's right. Hudson Yard. That's exactly right. That's the one. That's postponed. Because, man, they should have sent Savi a message or something. Good. Thanks for letting me know. Because I haven't registered for it. I was going to register for it today. That's the one, right? They said in capital letters. Okay, cool. All right. Thanks for letting me know. Yeah, I'm going to have to... I'll have to send Savi an email, letting him know he has to show up there. He's like, well, where is everyone? All right, good to know. Thanks for letting me know. All right, so yeah, I'm gonna wrap this up. Yeah, again, I guess they're gonna reschedule it, and then we'll go from there. All right, so Dan, no problem. Dan, thanks. I'll respond to your email. We'll get that going for you. And like I said, we have a big update coming, which you'll automatically get. And I think you're going to like where we're taking that, because it's really going to make this whole thing more visually intuitive and easier it will require less input, even less input. Now, I thought that this was less enough, but it obviously requires too much input from people still. Like you still have to do some work. We're trying to reduce that and make it even easier. So we're on our way. We have something good. I'll sign up and send you another email. Okay. Well, yeah, you could sign up. You're going to have to put your, just send me the email. You know what? Because again, this form right here, this form requires like a card or PayPal, right? In order for that to work. Otherwise, it's not going to work. So if you want to pay the other way, then I'll just send you the link. You can send me the money, and then Steen will put you on a list, and then you'll get the invite. Okay, but it's going to take a little bit longer. It's going to take like a day or so, if that's okay. I know sometimes patience may be a thing. I understand. Is that cool? Can you wait? Can you wait like a day or so? Because I can't address it like right this second. I have to go do something else. And I'll get to your email tonight. If that's cool. Is that cool? All right, you guys. So again, thanks for your time with me here today. Okay, cool. All right, no problem. I'll be looking that up. Again, I hope you got something out of the stream. I hope you learned a little something about how the Trade Scanner Pro works. We have a lot more stuff on the way, and I appreciate your patience and your support. All right, you guys. So again, enjoy the rest of your day, the rest of your evening, wherever you are in the world, and thank you for watching.